Okay, Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh, and good morning or good afternoon, even good evening, whenever you watch this video about material about syntax. But I do hope that you watch this uh, just as the schedule of our class, yeah, in the afternoon. I do hope that. So yeah, today is the first meeting for our class about introduction to syntax. But I'm really sorry because there is another agenda that I have to attend, so I couldn't come to teach you offline. Therefore, I'm thinking another method to teach you about this introduction of syntax material to you. So I decided to record a video as explanation for you to be able to understand what is written there. Yeah. So today I'm going to guide you to understand more about what syntax is about. I think last week we'll learn a little bit, or I think I told you a little bit that syntax is strongly related to sentence, right? That's why you need it will be helpful for your grammar and your writing later. But then you have to know that syntax is not simply as that. Yeah, last week was just a brief definition, just a simple one to help you understand the difference between syntax and other fields of study in linguistics. Okay, so let me start. So, what is syntax actually? Syntax, if I can describe, help you understand what syntax, I can ask you this question. How do speakers know that some sentences sound right and others don't? Have you ever experienced when you read maybe some of your friend's sentence, for example, and you feel like, oh, her sentence or his sentence this is not correct. It just doesn't sound right. Sometimes you feel like that, right? When you even not only in English but also of course in Indonesia, when you have that kind of thinking, actually that is strongly connected to syntax. So let me give you an example. Big Brother is watching you. This sentence was taken from George Orwell 1984 sentence. It's a simple one. So do you think this sentence is correct or not? You can answer by yourself. I do hope that we can have this in the classroom so you can tell me the reason why you say this sentence is correct or not. But I do hope you keep your sentence, the reason for you with you together. Okay, Big Brother is watching you. If you say it's right, yes. So why do you say yes? If you say it's incorrect, why do you say it's incorrect? Okay, so I give you some time to think. Big Brother is watching you. Yeah, this sentence is correct. Big Brother is watching you. It's just correct. We know who is watching and what this Big Brother do, right? And who is he watching? We know it, actually. But what if I gave you the second sentence? Big Brother watching is you. The second sentence has the same vocabulary as the first one, right? What's different is the order. Are you thinking like me, like what's wrong with the sentence? Do you feel the wrong sense of the sentence in you? Because yes, that would be good because you have activated your syntax yeah, in your mind. So Big Brother watching is you. If you feel that this sentence is wrong, then yes, that's the device of syntax in your brain has been activated. Okay. So syntax, yes, how do you know it's correct? Because the structure of the sentence is just incorrect. How can watching comes before to be, right? You can feel like that. And you say, if you look at this, where's the verb? Because if you say that the verb is watching, then why is comes after watching? You can keep the question like that, and that's a good thing, okay? Because again, sentence means structure, yeah, but structure doesn't mean vocabulary. right? So, how to say? In learning about syntax, it's not only about understanding vocabulary. Yes, of course, vocabulary means, because in some contexts you will know mentally that certain words is not correct to be used in a sentence when they are paired with other words. You will know that just instinctively if you have learned a lot about English. Okay, uh, if you have explored a lot of texts, a lot of writings, right? I believe you can just instinctively say that this the word choice is incorrect, but that's not about syntax. Okay, and when you talk about sentence, you have to remember that sentence, although it seems like they are just some words put together in one line to create sentence, but it's not simply just a string of words. Okay, sentence is not only about that. And although word order matters, yeah, but it's not everything. Okay? However, it matters because the change of the word order may change the meaning of the sentence, or even sometimes make the sentence is incorrect, meaningless. Okay, just like the two previous sentences before, when I say Big Brother is watching you, and then Big Brother watching is you, the different position of the word order change the meaning of the sentence. One is meaningful, the second one is meaningless. Just similar to these two sentences I give in the slide. So the first sentence says, the dog chased the cat chased the dog. So the small change happened in the second sentence because the object of the first sentence, which is the cat, was put as the subject on the second sentence. It makes the change of the word order change the meaning of the sentence, right? On the first sentence, the one who chased the object is the dog. But on the second sentence, the one who chased the object is not the dog anymore, but it's the cat. It's because you changed the word order. Okay, so that's the complexity of structure. Okay, then what is syntax again? So syntax studies how words are arranged into phrases and sentences. So it's not just about knowing that this is the subject, but we need to know how it is become the subject, or how it is built from simple words and comes to a phrase and becomes sentence. Okay, so the focus on learning syntax first is of course the order of the words, and then you will see the grouping, okay? And the next one is the relationship between elements, because this relationship, if we fail to understand, then it may create ambiguity. Then why do we study syntax? Um, as I said before, by learning syntax, you will realize that when you have studied the language, even when you're still not mastering, but you have studied like for a long time, actively use that, you will realize that sometimes, not sometimes, but most of the time, we can understand sentence even we've never heard it before. Yeah, so for example, you read a novel, you read a book. Of course, you will read many unfamiliar sentence, right? You never know actually uh, found similar sentences before, but then you can understand it. You can see whether the sentence is acceptable or true or unacceptable. Okay. So for example, say the on the slide, the angry purple dragon borrowed my lecturer's laptop yesterday. The angry purple dragon borrowed my lecturer's laptop yesterday. Okay. So I believe we've never heard or seen this sentence before in our classroom. Perhaps you've seen somewhere in a fantasy novel, but probably not exactly the same, right? But do you understand this sentence? Yeah, some of you may say, yes, we understand. Or maybe all of you, I do hope, but all of you understand the sentence. But how do you understand it? How do you understand the sentence? Is it because you translate the words, all the words, like you translate what angry means, you translate what purple means? Is it like that? It's not wrong, it's correct. because we have to know the meaning of the words, right, to understand a sentence. But then it's just in the level of words if you do that. But in the level of syntax, you will, if your syntax, if the mental process of understanding the sentence happen in your brain is good enough, you will know exactly the sentence means not only by the meaning of each of the words, but you will know exactly who borrowed who borrowed who borrowed what. Gitu. Kamu akan tahu, ya kan? You will know that not the person, the one who borrowed the laptop was the angry purple dragon. Bukan sebaliknya. Bukan my lecturer yang pinjam laptop. Ya nggak sih? Nah, and then the knowledge of syntax help you understand what is borrowed by the dragon, right? And you know when it happened. You know all this meaning not because you simply understand the meaning of the words separately, but because you know the connection of each of these words when they were put together in a sentence. So that's the knowledge of syntax. Saya jeda sebentar ya, kayaknya di luar ini ribet banget mobilnya. Semua kedengaran sampai ke dalam. Yeah, so that's syntax. Okay, so ketika membaca sebuah novel, sebuah buku, don't rely to, yeah, of course you need to rely on your vocabulary, but then you need to know that when understanding a sentence, there are a lot of knowledge happens in your brain. A lot of things happen in your brain. You activate a lot of knowledge, a lot of information, not only in the level of word only, but also in the level of sentence. And all of them work together to help you understand the sentence. Okay? Ini kan kemarin I think sudah kita pelajari ya. But sometimes sentence can be ambiguous, especially in the level of structure when you were not given any context, and you got to read one sentence that can give you ambiguous meaning. It can happen, ya, itu bisa terjadi. Tapi mungkin kita nggak perlu bahas terlalu jauh karena ambiguousnya ini sentence ambigu udah kita bahas sedikit pekan lalu ya. Saya pindah dulu ke yang penjelasan berikutnya tentang grammatical and ungrammatical. Yeah, I think last week I have told you that syntax has strong connection with grammar. Yes, it's true, because if you look at the sentence below, are they correct? Colorless green ideas slip furiously. Green slip ideas furiously colorless. I do hope you are in the classroom right now, so I can see your expression, ask you to answer this question. But I do hope you answer it by yourself with you. So these two sentences, are they correct? If you say the first sentence is correct, then you are wrong. Okay. Oh, then the sentence number 2 is correct. No, it's wrong as well. So yes, there is no correct sentence out of these two sentences. Really? Yeah, let's see. Colorless green ideas live furiously. Grammatically, it's correct. Grammatically, it's correct. However, why do I say it's grammatically correct? Because we have the subject, right? We have the verb, and we have adverb that explain how the subjects live. However, the subject, the noun, the hat, a colorless green ideas. The hat is idea, right? Idea is an abstract noun. Abstract noun is a noun that you can see with your eyes, right? But then in the sentence, it is given color, green. Okay, and there is colorless green. What do you mean here? So this is the ungrammatical thing. This is the unmeaningful, the meaningless thing about the first sentence. Jadi dia maknanya udah salah karena idea itu abstrak kan. Bagaimana benda abstrak bisa ada warnanya gitu. Okay. Terus how can it sleep? Ya, jadi structurally, grammatically it's correct. Tapi if you talk about meaning, then it's meaningless. What about the second sentence? Yeah, the second sentence, um, actually, it's meaningful. Yeah, but then, yeah, meaningful in terms of all the words. Yeah, but again, it's not grammatical as well. The second sentence is not grammatical. Like sleep comes after green, and then furiously comes after ideas. Colorless, which is an adjective, comes after an adverb. Oh, it's sangat ungrammatical. Okay, so this tells you that a sentence can be meaningful in words, like all the words have meaning, even sometimes make sense, but then if it's ungrammatical, that it is unacceptable. Okay, and sometimes a sentence can be correctly has subject, verb, the order is correct. However, when we talk about meaning, then the connection and the relationship between each of the constituent, it doesn't work. It just doesn't make sense, and it makes the sentence is incorrect. Okay, so that's about syntax. Kind of complex ya. Ya, begitulah syntax. Nah, ntar ya. Jadi uh, harusnya uh, kalau kamu native speaker misalnya dalam bahasa Indonesia, when someone says something incomprehensible, kamu akan biasanya menaikkan alis sebelah tuh mengatakan aku bilang kayak gitu ya, karena you can judge the sentence intuitively. Kamu tahu bahwa ada yang salah dengan kalimat dia, ada yang tidak benar sama kalimat dia. That's the process of syntax that happens in your mind. Kita bilang mental process. Okay. Nah, kalau gitu dalam kalimat itu artinya semuanya ada strukturnya ya. Iya, benar. So sentences it's not just the collection of the collective words that written in a single line, for example. Not as simple like that. Jadi sentences are not just linear strings of words that you put side by side, but then actually they have internal structure in which some words form tighter groups than the others. So there are some words in a sentence that they have strong relationship, has strong meaning than the others, which means you cannot separate them. Tidak bisa dipisah mereka, harus bersama. Ya. Now, these groupings help determine how a sentence is understood and how its parts function together, even when the words appear in a simple order. For example, the student of linguistics laughed. If I ask you, so this is one simple sentence here. The student of linguistics laughed. So the question that I want to give is, what belongs together here? In one sentence here. Yang mana yang menurut kalian itu saling memiliki harus saya. Pokoknya saling berkaitan lah. Yang mana kira-kira? The student of linguistics laughed. Yang mana kira-kira yang saling berkaitan gitu, yang punya strong, tighter connection. So let's see. Yeah. So the question now is of linguistics. So of linguistics, does it describe the student or laughed? Yes, it describes the student. Kan? Dia tidak menjelaskan love, tapi dia menjelaskan student. Nah, itu yang dimaksud. Bahwa student sama of linguistic itu punya tighter connection, relationship. Mereka punya bond yang lebih kuat, ya, bond yang lebih kuat dibanding the students dengan love misalnya. Okay. Nah, sekarang bandingkan dengan the student of linguistics laughed sama the student laughed of linguistics. Which one is correct? Or are both of them correct? Or only one of them is correct? Yeah, only one of them is correct, right? It's only number one. Okay, because you realize that again, you are intuitively knowing that of linguistic is part of the students. So if I separate them together, if I separate them and put the verb between them, you will sense the wrong thing happen on the second sentence. Ya, itulah yang disebut dengan mental ability of syntax. Ya. Jadi words cannot combine freely. Certain groups are required, certain groupings are required. And you realize that, sekali lagi, ketika kamu sudah belajar bahasa Inggris, harusnya kemampuan ini udah terasah. Makanya saya selalu bilang, jangan pakai Google Translate. Karena ketika pakai Google Translate, kamu tidak mengasah kemampuan ini di kepalamu deh. Ya, yang kamu asah ketika pakai Google Translate adalah kemampuan bahasa Indonesiamu, bukan bahasa Inggrismu. Karena kamu berpikir dalam bahasa Indonesia, you let yourself, you train your brain, you let your brain practice of the sentence structure in Indonesian, not in English. And so when you write in English, you let the machine do that. Itu yang saya selalu bilang, jangan pakai Google Translate. Kamu tidak mengasah otakmu deh. Nah, ini salah satu alasannya. Okay? Karena yang namanya proses seperti ini, it happens in your brain only. Okay? Nah, dari sinilah kalian tahu bahwa the grouping here, it is what we call constituent. Di dalam istilah bahasa ada belajar sinteks, ada kata constituent. Constituent is a group of words that function as a unit. Okay? That has function as a unit. Maksudnya unit itu ya satu bagian, satu unit, nggak boleh dipisah, gitu kan. Nah, bagaimana? How do we know that these some words, these collective words are one unit? So you can do substitution, you can do movement. Substitution means if a group of words can be replaced by a single word, the meaning of the sentence doesn't change, maka itu adalah it behaves like a unit. But if you can move them in different place and the sentence doesn't change, the meaning of the sentence doesn't change, yeah, it means that words are one unit. Okay, so for example, the children played soccer in the garden. If you see here, you can see that for example, the subject, yeah, the children here, the children, if I substitute it with pronoun he, for example, or they, itu kan tidak masalah ya. So I can say they played soccer in the garden. So the sentence is still correct, which means the children adalah satu unit, satu konstituen. Beda kalau saya bilang the, baru saya ganti children dengan he. The he played. Bener nggak sih? Pasti kamu langsung bilang salah, gitu kan? Udah otomatis kamu bilang salah, karena di kepalamu udah tahu itu pola yang ada. Gitu kan? Nah, kenapa? Jadi makanya children tidak boleh dibuang sendiri, tidak bisa digantikan sendiri. Dia harus diganti bersama dengan kata the. So both the word the and children, if you want to substitute it with another pronoun, then these two words must be taken out. Harus diambil hilang berdua, karena mereka adalah satu konstituen. Okay. Ada lagi nggak yang lain? Ada, misalnya in the garden. In the garden juga satu konstituen ya. Karena misalnya kita bisa pindahin dia ke depan, ya kan? In the garden, satu, jadi yang pindah itu harus sampai in the garden, tidak boleh the garden tuh. Kalau the garden tuh maka aneh, jadi kalimatnya kan ya. Jadi yang pindah itu bolehnya in the garden. In the garden, the children play soccer. Oke, okay? Jadi karena dia bisa pindah, maka in the garden adalah satu konstituen. Play soccer in the garden, actually there also one constituent. Ya, karena kalau mau saya ganti kata kerjanya dengan yang lain, misalnya did it, nah itu semuanya harus diganti, harus keluar, tidak boleh apa istilahnya ya, satu-satu jadi ambil gitu. Jadi dia jadinya adalah verb phrase, karena verb phrase itu bisa dimodify oleh noun sama adverb prepositional phrase. Jadi constituent. Okay. Jadi a phrase, jadi satu konstituen itu bakal membentuk satu frase, ya. Jadi a phrase is a group of words that function as a unit in a sentence. Jadi satu unit pasti satu frase. Okay. Nah, frase itu ada banyak ya. Ini beberapa, ada noun, verb, adjective, adverb phrase, prepositional phrase, etc. Then you have to remember that inside a phrase there should be a head. Ya, ada the central word. As I told you last week, that this central word will decide the type of phrase of that phrase. Okay, and the other elements are modifier. Okay, the modifier can be more than one, right? So here we see that the children played soccer in the garden. There is the children as the noun phrase, played soccer in the garden is the verb phrase, and in the verb phrase there is another phrase, nesting in it. Ada kata istilah nesting, nest sarang ya. Itu ada istilah linguistik, bisa disebut nesting. Jadi prepositional phrase is nested in verb phrase. Oke, betul ya. Nanti dari sini saya perlihatkan nih. Nah, ini yang tree diagramnya. Untuk tree diagramnya saya hilangkan soccernya ya, karena kalau ada soccer banyak banget ini, nggak sanggup, nggak cukup dia terlalu ke belakang sini nanti jadinya. Jadi ini saya hilangkan soccernya, jadi di sini tidak ada verb, ada nounnya, but you can see it here. So the sentence like this one, nanti untuk next tree diagramnya pakai S aja di sini. So, ini cara bacanya bukan dari atas ya, tapi dari bawah. Jadi bagaimana the sentence is structured, is built, ya, is built dari bawah gitu. Jadi kita punya ada the children, so the children works together as a constituent, and there is also in the garden, the garden first as the noun phrase, and it works. This constituent then creates is connected to preposition and create prepositional phrase, and this prepositional phrase were put together with a verb to then give relationship meaning to the relationship, which is about the place where the action happened. Right? Jadi dia jadinya verb phrase. This noun phrase and verb phrase then structured together, put together, and create one sentence, which is the children played in the garden. Okay, so the tree here make it more visible for you that sentence is structured from words, okay, and then they build together to create a phrase, and then this phrase then can also create together or meet together and then create one sentence. So this shows that sentence is not flat. Sentence is not just a string of words, but it's structured. Yeah. And this structured is not the formula to memorize, because this structure may change. Okay, may change. You were given different sentence, then this structure may change. Okay, maybe here there will be no prepositional phrase, but there will be noun phrase, and in the noun phrase there will be preposition. Okay, a lot of things may happen. So this formula is not for memorizing, but you just need to know understanding. But this is how a sentence is built together. Okay, itu contoh dari tree diagramnya. Sekarang next is basic sentence pattern. So you already know that sentence is structure unit. It's not just string of words, and it consists of two parts. Like as you see in here, there's noun phrase and verb phrase. Okay, so its noun phrase typically will be the subject, and verb phrase will be the predicate. Okay, and each of the phrase there will be head and there will be modifier. Okay, but in sentence, it's not about creating sentence like you just put word together, but you have to remember that there is hierarchical structure, yeah, where the word groups together, and then at the end they create one good sentence. Okay. Itu mungkin yang tentang sintaks, bagaimana sebuah struktur kalimat terbentuk ya dari bawah ke atas. Jadi kalian tahu bahwa struktur kalimat itu tidak flat, tapi ada hierarkinya, ada tingkatannya. Gitu. Dan itu terlihat jelas lewat tree diagram. Nah, word order across languages. So, bahasa itu kan kayak tadi ya, ketika belajar sintaks, 3 hal yang kita pelajari. First one is word order, the word order, the groupings, and relationship of the phrases kan, of the unit, sorry. Nah, untuk word order sendiri, itu kan yang terlihat. So the word order is the visible position in a sentence. Okay, you can see, but then the word order here is not only about the position of the and noun, but also the position of the constituent of the unit. Jadi subjeknya di mana, verbnya di mana, objeknya di mana, sama modifiernya di mana. However, different language may have different structure. Okay, different structure of word, different word order of this constituent. So in in English, we know that the pattern always be subject and verb, right? However, in other languages, it can be different. So for example, in Indonesia, maybe it's similar. Okay, like for example, the student read the book. In Indonesia, ya diterjemahkan mahasiswa itu membaca buku. For as a unit, the how to say the word order is similar. Ada subject, ada predikat, ada object. However, if we see the word order in the phrase, itu yang sedikit berbeda. In English, you can see that the modifier comes before the noun. But in Indonesia, the modifier itu comes after the noun. So itu word ordernya berbeda ya kan. But then it still has similar function, the same subject, similar syntactic role. Dia tetap sama-sama subjek walaupun word ordernya sedikit berbeda. Sama dengan buku itu kan, the book itu word ordernya berbeda. But then in a sentence the constituent has similar. Nah, cuman kadang flexible modifier nih ada yang misalnya apa ya? Kalau di bahasa Indonesia itu cenderung kayaknya yang mana yang terakhir ya, kata tempat atau waktu? Waktu bisa yang terakhir kayak ini kalau bahasa Indonesia. Karena kata besok sama ini buat yang di akhir kalimat seperti itu. Nah, beda lagi dengan bahasa lain. Saya kasih contoh aja bahasa yang sederhana katanya. Ya, bahasa Korea misalnya ini paling berbeda. Jadi di sini maknanya sama ya. Jadi student read the book ini saya translate ke dalam bahasa Korea. It says 학생이 책을 읽었어요. 학생 itu student. Okay, 학생 is student. So here the subject is similar position subject. However, after the subject, cek itu adalah buku, book. So the object comes after the verb, after the subject. That's the structure of Korean sentence. Baru kemudian 읽었어요 is the verb, membaca, read. Ilgot kalau saya ilta, saya lupa yang jelas. 읽었어요 means read in the past tense. Okay, so if you see it here, the Korean sentence also has the syntactic roles. It has subject, it has verb, it has object, it has modifiers. However, the word order is different. Ya, gitu ya. Jadi this kind of knowledge about syntax again can be used, okay? Can be learned. Is knowledge that you need to learn to know when you learn a language, when you see another different language. So you know the understanding bahwa semua kalimat dalam semua bahasa itu punya struktur kalimat yang bisa saja berbeda, tapi we know that they have this syntactic roles in that. Dan itu kamu bisa paham ketika belajar nantinya. Ini contoh bagaimana word order across languages bisa berbeda. Okay. Jadi kesimpulannya adalah syntax is not just about word order, but about the structural relationship between elements. Jadi word order bisa berbeda, tapi ketika structural relationship-nya itu sama, ya seperti itulah memang yang dipelajari dalam syntax ketika memahami sebuah bahasa atau kalimatnya. When we talk about theoretical orientation, jadi kita ini tadi penjelasannya kan bagaimana sintaks itu is a mental process ya in your brain. Jadi itu masuk ke dalam generative grammar kalau saya tidak salah ya. Kita sebutnya ada di sini ya. Ya secara teori itu kita traditional that studies how sentences are generated, not memorized. Jadi belajar sintaks itu kita bisa sadar bahwa when you want to learn create sentence, it's not about memorizing, but understanding how the constituent work together to create sentence. Nah, ini kalau nggak salah teorinya lebih ke simple generative grammar, itu teori yang klasik lama banget terkait sintaks ya. Dan itu yang paling terkenal adalah Noam Chomsky. Kalian belajar psikolinguistik pasti akan ketemu dengan beliau. Noam Chomsky itu is famous for his theory about language acquisition device, where he said that every baby ya, jadi semua anak bayi itu, anak kecil itu bisa belajar bahasa because they have the device in their brain. Nah, itu yang dia pakai kan sama dengan kita tuh belajar sintaks. Dari tadi saya menjelaskan bahwa sintaks itu adalah mental proses yang terjadi di kepala, karena dia bilang ya, dia seperti yang Noam Chomsky bilang, itu proses di kepala yang ada, yang kita intuitively tahu. Okay? Itu kita intuitively tahu bahwa ada yang salah, strukturnya seperti ini dan seperti ini. Okay. Ini kalau kamu belajar psikolinguistik, ini paling Noam Chomsky ini adalah tokoh yang paling, bukan tokoh yang paling, tokoh yang bertentangan dengan aliran behaviorism. Jadi kalau behaviorism bilangnya anak-anak orang belajar itu, anak-anak belajar itu karena ada stimulus. Nanti dikasih tahu berulang-ulang, dimarahi kalau salah, dikasih hadiah kalau benar. Nah, itu adalah behaviorism. Sementara Noam Chomsky bilang, biar nggak dikasih begitu, anak-anak atau sendiri nanti. Itu ya. Ya, itu saya lupa, innate language, saya lupa ada teorinya. Tapi itu yang saya ingat, language acquisition device. Nah, itu yang masuk salah satu influential figure dari teori generative grammar. Jadi again, bahwa sinteks diketahui sebagai mental system yang is understood as internal knowledge that allows speaker to judge and build sentence intuitively. Jadi you can create an unlimited sentence by applying the same rule repeatedly. Karena kamu ya itu aja, it happens ya. Misalnya rule-nya adalah atau pattern-nya. Pattern dalam bahasa Inggris kan adalah sebuah kata benda itu bisa modified by prepositional phrase. Dan ini one rule, jadi terbatas, tapi ketika kita bikin kalimat, dia bisa jadi unlimited. The book is on the table. Saya bisa tambahin lagi di belakang prepositional phrase. In the kitchen. Saya tambahin lagi di mana preposition in the house. Saya tambahin lagi on the hill. Ini bisa sampai belakang. Jadinya unlimited. Tapi hanya dengan menggunakan satu rule. Kita ini maksudnya. Ini unlimited sentence dengan satu rule yang terbatas. Nah, terkait sendiri sinteks sangat powerful sebenarnya, tapi dia limited. Okay? Syntax is a strong, powerful analysis device, but it is limited because it can't explain all aspects. Okay? It cannot explain the context of a sentence. We don't know who is talking, we don't know to whom he's talking, or what context they are talking. And it cannot explain the intention of the speaker. So, for example, if you encounter a sentence, it's cold here, with this just one simple sentence, we don't know what this sentence can explain. Syntax cannot explain apakah kalimat ini just as information that I'm cold, or it is a kind of complaint, dingin deh, gitu kan, atau it's a request for someone else in that room to close any door or any window. Itu syntax nggak melihat itu. Nanti ketika masuk diskurs, atau semantik pragmatik, baru itu kemudian bisa kita lihat maknanya. Sinteks juga tidak bisa interpret simbol, theme, aesthetic meaning, karena itu kan ada makna di balik makna ya. Artinya ketika ada simbol, maka yang terlihat tidak seperti apa yang tertulis, sementara sinteks tidak bisa menilai itu. Sinteks hanya bisa melihat hubungan antar konstituen yang ada dalam kalimat itu, apa subjeknya, dan subjeknya itu melakukan apa, hanya seperti itu ya, yang bisa sinteks lakukan. Nah, tapi kemudian kita harus tahu bahwa interpretation itu kan tidak muncul tiba-tiba. Interpretation dari sebuah kalimat yang ada, yang terlihat, itu kan berdasarkan konteks yang ada kan. Dan disitulah structure bisa membantu. Okay, structure maybe doesn't tell us what a text means, but it can tell us what it cannot mean. Maksudnya kayak gimana nih contohnya nih? She touched the edge of the knife with fear. With syntax, we know, kan ini kalian sudah tahu ya kalimat she touched the edge of the knife with fear. Kita kan sudah tahu nih dari kalimat ini subjeknya yang mana, verbnya yang mana, apa yang terjadi, apa yang dipegang sama she ini. Itu kan secara otomatis di kepala udah ada kan ya di kepala kalian. Nah, itulah proses sintaks terjadi. Nah, kita memang tidak bisa, kalau ada makna lain di balik itu mungkin yang berdasarkan konteksnya mungkin kita tidak bisa tebak sejauh itu ya. Tapi at least kita bisa membatasi maknanya, bahwa di kalimat ini kita tahu siapa yang pegang pisau dan apa yang dia rasakan. Ya nggak sih? Nah, jadi interpretasi kita tidak akan jauh-jauh dari itu. Ya, interpretasinya tidak akan seperti bahwa yang dia pegang bukan pisau, yang dia pegang mungkin pedang. Loh, nggak mungkin. Karena kenapa? Kita udah tahu bahwa objek di kalimat ini adalah the edge of the knife, nggak mungkin pedang. Nah, gitu loh. Itu yang dimaksud dengan bagaimana structure mungkin tidak bisa memberikan interpretasi tentang makna, tapi it can limit bahwa interpretasi maknanya itu hanya di sekitar itu aja, nggak mungkin di tempat lain, nggak mungkin terlalu keluar gitu, karena tadi dibatasi oleh uh, sinteks tadi bahwa di kalimat ini yang dia pegang adalah the edge of the knife. Dan dia mungkin nanti interpretasinya dia bahagia. Kenapa tidak bahagia? Karena dalam kalimat itu ya dikatakan bahwa dia merasakan fear. Gitu. Okay, so that's what it means bahwa structure does not tell us what a text means, tapi it tell us what it cannot mean. Okay. Now, in summary, wah cukup lama saya juga ngomong ini, 20 menit. We know that syntax studies sentence structure, okay, and structure itu hierarchical. It starts from the words and then it creates phrases, etc. And our analysis follows a generative framework. That understanding syntax means understanding one way of seeing a language. Itu mungkin yang bisa saya sampaikan hari ini terkait apa itu syntax. So I do hope that this introduction can shape the mind of you to remember that learning syntax, yes, we learn about sentence, we learn about structure, but it's not simply saying bahwa dia adalah kalimat adalah susunan kata, but kita harus ingat bahwa syntax itu much deeper than that, karena kita belajar tentang unit dalam kalimat dan bagaimana kemudian mereka terbentuk sehingga jadilah satu kalimat yang benar. Okay, secara grammar tapi juga punya makna. Okay. Demikian mungkin untuk materi hari ini. So, kalau ada pertanyaan silahkan disampaikan di grup. Saya akan usahakan menjawab ketika bisa membuka grup ya. Okay. That's all I think. Thank you so much. I'll see you next week insyaAllah dengan materi lain, yaitu word level, kalau tidak salah. Yeah, good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, everyone. Enjoy the rest of the day.